Yo, what's going on, GBA type people? It's Gregulator60 here, and I hope you are having a fantastic day, simply fantastic. And I'm bringing to you week 5 of the Pick'em crew for the Global Battle Association. If you guys are hyped for today's video and hyped for tomorrow's matches, make sure you subscribe to the GBA channel, leave a like, comment your picks down below with the hashtag OhGosh, so myself and my new friend can go ahead and read them tomorrow or later today. So speaking of new friends, I do want to mention, I'm so sorry, CJ, like, I joined CJ in recording. So CJ was unable to make today's recording. It's my fault. But I did the graphics, so it's not completely me messing things up. But I'd like to introduce new part-time analysts that we're going to have on the series every now and then. Say hello and introduce yourself.
Yo guys, it's Turbo. Greg, I thought we were gonna pretend I was just gonna be CJ. We thought the fans were
weird. Have you seen the fan pick'ems? Like, hello, the fans aren't dumb. Speaking of, so this is Turbo. Turbo's gonna be joining me for today's episode. And speaking of the fans not being dumb, let's review the week 4 pick'ems. Now, actually, I take back everything I said. You guys went 5-3. Oh my god, and there's a typo. See, you can tell the graphics are done. There's a typo. You guys definitely did not go 6-2. You guys went 5-3. But for the most part, like, overall, week 4 pretty successful. I would say Aaron is giving me the main competition for the week, so that's kind of cool. 8-0 for both of us. Turbo, any surprises from week 4 as far as the matches are concerned? I know a lot of people were hyped about Jolt versus Envy, and it definitely did not go the way a lot of people expected.
I mean, in the pick'ems, they went 50-50. I would have gone Jolt that week anyway because I trust the way he builds. But I feel like that could be a disappointment, especially in the comments below. And the fans getting that wrong as well. I mean, you fans, but 5-3 or 5-4? Yeah,
they went 5-3. Even number, Turbo. Come on, man. You're gonna get fired. You're gonna get fired by Tom. Let's be honest.
Right after 5 minutes, Jesus. You can't defend the fans like that if they're going 5-3.
Yeah, I mean, the fans are still in second place, a very commanding lead over everybody else. I think Aaron and CJ are close behind, but it's not even close. It's basically me versus the fans, and let's be honest, guys. I'm gonna beat you guys. So let's move on into week 5. We got a nice plethora of games. Thank you, Turbo, for also putting in some picks for the week.
No problem.
We have, as you can see, everything is down below where you can check everybody's references. But let's start with the first game this week, which is the San Francisco Giants, coached by gym leader Geo, and also the Columbus Chew, coached by the mysterious Coach Z. I really think ManaE is going to be a super important Pokemon in this matchup. Mainly because it outspeeds the majority of Geo's team, and it's a very good, like, fat breaker. If you haven't noticed, ManaE has the ability to break apart super bulky teams, and that's one thing that Geo's team does incredibly well at, is being fat. So ManaE does a good job of checking those types of teams. I think Shaman's going to play a really defensive role in this matchup, and I think it's going to help Geo beat the ManaE, and everything else I think gets walled. Mega Ampharos can't break, Sneasel, Badmon. Like, Mew beats Sneasel, to be real.
He's not bad, mon, dude.
Sneasel was in the GBA D-League on my team. Excuse me, Turbo. It actually beat Jolt. Something nobody else in the something nothing else in the GBA has done so far. But yeah, that's pretty nice. Everybody is clean sweeping with gym leader Geo this week, which, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it's bound to happen at some point. So we'll move on to the next game, which is going to be the San Diego Gym Chargers, coached by Lord MB, and Crimson Seabad, coach of the Detroit Steel Wings. Now, I don't know about you, Turbo, but I find it very hard to believe that, what's it called? That MB is going to drop 2 games in a row. I just don't see it happening, especially with the way Crimson has been prepping and playing. I know he's been venting on Twitter that, you know, it's been really difficult for him to manage a ton of leagues. And I think MB's really got a chip on his shoulder, you know, like that loss to Jolt was pretty decisive, and I think MB's going to come back very strongly. I think one of the mons that looks really good on MB's side in particular is that Alolan Raichu. It's in a really nice spot, because a lot of the things that Crimson can do to outpace a Tapu Koko, like Choice Scarf users, all lose to Alolan Raichu. And like I mentioned last week, Crimson's team is very frail from an offensive point of view. So Raichu's lack of raw power really doesn't mean a whole lot. And it hits mons like Infernape super effectively with Stab. The Thunderous Eye doesn't appreciate taking electric terrain boosted Thunderbolts. And you know, I think it's just a very nice matchup for Alolan Raichu. What do you think?
I completely agree. I mean, the confusion's going wild with that little Detroit Crimson play, but I think unless Crimson gets completely juiced off G Fuel, I don't think this game's going Crimson's way at all.
Yeah. One thing I do like though is that Crimson is Thunder's Eye is very good in the kill leader race so far. And like one way to combat like Alolan Raichu in particular could be like Agility Thunder's Eye, like. Oh my god, you know it would be pretty heat? Agility Thunder's Eye with like Hidden Power Ice and Iron Ball to take advantage of the what's that move? What's that terrain? The electric terrain? Does Iron Ball just ground you or does it reduce your speed? Because I don't like the fact that
it does both. I think it reduces speed and grounds you.
Oh, does it? Okay, well that's unfortunate. I mean, maybe not. Maybe that's a bad idea. That's why they kind of
sounded whack.
I just wanted something to be grounded. I think, yeah, I tried too hard. This is why I should take notes. That's why they didn't promote me to the main league.
At TomZ. No, I think that you're right. Coco breaks incredibly well this game, and then Alolan Raichu in electric terrain kind of just does the rest. Because Beedrill is arguably the biggest threat to Envy's team, and Envy even then has really good checks to it. So Crimson is looking rough.
Yeah, there's mons like Amoonguss, Gligar that Envy could bring. I agree, 100%. So it's glad that we both agree on that match. Let's move on to a bit more of a interesting matchup. We have the Borussia Dortmund coached by Lars and the Bronze Bear Tex coached by PokeMMD. Now this match actually surprised me. Mainly due to the fact that the fans picked Lars, and I know that Joey's been struggling, but a lot of times like fan favorite players typically supersede their performance, but this isn't the case. The fans are distinctively choosing Lars, and I think that's a real testament to how well Lars has been playing this week. Turbo, you're locking Lars this week. What was your reasoning for doing that? Or not locking?
I'm not locking Lars, but yeah, I picked Lars.
You picked Lars.
Jesus, everything is going so right for us this week. But I mean, I picked Lars this week because one, I think that Lars's experience in the format is going to trump Joey's Smogon sort of format as well, as format or mindset. But the main thing I think that's going to give Lars the edge this week is if you look at Joey's team and then look at Kieran Black. Now, Kieran Black absolutely puts a massive hole into Joey's defensive walls in this game as well. If Kieran Black is played correctly, Joey's going to have a really, really hard time. I think that Lars's form in combination with Crook's ground stab and then Kieran Black is just going to overpower Joey's team. Interestingly, Joey's best, or one of his best checks to Lars's team is a well-played Whimsicott, which I wouldn't put too far off Joey doing, but I think that the Kieran Black plus Lars' really, really good form this season is going to put him up to maybe cause an upset this week. But the fans are with me, so shout out to the fans there as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, Joey recently picked up Magnezone, which is definitely something that could be very valuable to help check Kieran Black. I know Focus Blast is a move, but you know, the Sakataka is no longer on the roster. Focus Blast, I don't know if you necessarily want to go for that versus Mega Gyarados.
Earth Power is a thing.
Yeah, what was that?
Earth Power Kieran Black is a thing.
Oh yeah, Earth Power Kieran Black, but like, I don't know, I feel like that's too much pivoting around. Like, I guess maybe that's true as well. But one mon that I do like on Joey's side of the field is the Necrozma. I think Necrozma has it has the bulky offensive approach that could really aid Joey in this matchup. And Necrozma does very well versus mons like the Crocodile and the Kieran Black specifically. If it's SD, like a physical like Brick Necrozma could be very good. Help bypass Kabalion, Kamala, stuff like that. And, you know, everything else that is, like, fighting, just look at Lars' team fighting in psychic coverage. So I really like the Necrozma, like a dual dance Necrozma, kind of similar to what he brought versus Mono, except on the physical side. Like Photon Geyser. I know Joey's got to learn the Z move roll. He knows that this time around. So I actually like Joey's matchup. And I kind of see him bouncing back. I think this is a trap game for Lars, especially with how well he's been playing. If he can beat Joey when he's expected to, I think that will go a long way as far as establishing Lars as one of the top tier threats in the GBA this season. So I'm going to go with Joey though.
That's completely fair. But I guess we should move on to the next game, which is the KCJ, as in Jolt versus Cybertron Aaron. And this week, there's a few locks for Jolt here as well. But as you said in last week's video and most videos, you need to assess the rain check. The rain check on Jolt's team being Mega Venusaur, which is arguably one of the best rain checks in the game, especially since there's no TomZ on and the only Hurricane user is Pelipper. I think that Jolt is going to have a pretty good time with his matchup here, I'm not going to lie. Veno is probably the best rain check in the game, as said, and then the combination of Cybertron's Heliolisk and Raichu is just not effective enough unless they're carrying Thunder to break down Celesteela. I think Jolt is going to be very, very aware of that in prep. I think that Cybertron could bring a kind of neat 4 attacks Psyche MZ Kartana set. That could be kind of fun. And once Selly goes down, that set kind of runs house if it's played well. But otherwise, I can only see Jolt taking this in prep, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, exactly. I think what you mentioned is important. Jolt has very good traditional rain checks, and I think for Cybertron to pull this victory out, he's going to have to find ways to lure and beat both the Breloom and also the Mega Venusaur. If you look at Breloom, like its matchup in particular, it matches up pretty well offensively versus like Ludicolo, Kartana especially. So like Speed Boost variants like Kartana drop to Mach Punch. I don't care how physically bulky Kartana can be. Breloom is very strong, and so I expect Breloom to have a good matchup. Mega Venusaur plays a pivotal role for Jolt. I think one mon to look at in Cybertron's perspective is the Kingdra, because one of the primary dragon resists on Jolt's team is the Gardevoir. So knowing that Gardevoir has Trace and can trace all of the Swift Swim abilities from Cybertron's side, and I think Cybertron has really bad Fairy resist, don't quote me, but I feel like it's only Kartana, and that's not a Moonblast switch. I ran mono Moonblast versus a Kartana at one point, like sub CM, but alas, I think that if you can find a way to beat down the Gardevoir, which I'm not sure if actually Cybertron can, because Gardevoir is just a very strong mon in general against his team in particular. Moonblast is no joke, it's 95 base power, but Mimikyu is probably going to have to be a strong win condition, and in order for Mimikyu to win games, it needs to be able to wear down both Mega Venusaur and Celesteela, and I think potentially like Allure sets with the Rain Sweepers can do that for Cybertron. But I think that's too much at this point, and I'm going to go with a veteran of the format, somebody who's very consistent, and I'm going to go with Jolt on this, and this is my lock of the week. Only because the path to victory for Cybertron isn't as straightforward. What do you think, Turbo?
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. I can see why you locked it. I didn't want to lock it because I know that Cybertron could potentially pull something out of the bag. It'll be interesting to see if Jolt does what he did against MV last week and use almost a counter speed doubling ability with the Trace, again with the Gardevoir. But I think that since Cybertron would have definitely watched last week's game and scouting, maybe he can prep adequately for that. But you are correct. The only Fairy resist, or the only Fairy resist he has on his team is Kartana, and even that doesn't really want to switch into a Moonblast from a max special attack Gardevoir. But we'll jump into the next game, as again we got the other VGC veteran in the Milwaukee Bewares versus Chimpact in the Philadelphia Sizzles. Again, Philadelphia kind of taking the overall majority here.
Can I stop you for a moment and just say how angry I am? This is week 5, Turbo. Where is the Camerupt?
Yeah, true.
Where is the Camerupt?
I do agree with that.
Chimp has all this hype around his team, but there's no Camel.
I think I've got Chimp on quoting saying that he only drafted Camel so he could get another tier 1 and get Victini, which is extreme disrespect to the Camel.
That is extremely...
I think we do need to see the Camel at some point.
Extremely disrespectful. However, one thing that I think Wolf has going for him is that this is actually not a very Mega Camerupt friendly game. There is a Mega Garchomp that destroys, a Bronzong potentially. I know it's a Bronzong, but like, we'll see. But mostly the Jellicent. I think Wolf has definitely better things to handle Camerupt than most teams, because his team does lie on the really fat side, and even though Camerupt can break that, it can only do so much, especially because Chip doesn't have the best wish passing into Camerupt. So I don't expect but I don't know why Wolf would expect that. There has never been a Camerupt, and this just frustrates me. I don't want to talk about this match. You please speak.
I'm looking at the game right now, and aside from a Makalolo with Pursuit, Victini kind of just goes in. The combination of Glaciate plus Blue Flare plus... That's pretty much all he needs, actually. Glaciate plus Blue, he could run a mix set to hit that Florges as well. Alongside maybe a Zegra Ninja, just really breaks down.
We'll probably Bolt Strike. There's a Jellicent.
Yeah, true. So mixed Teeny and a Greninja is looking really nice. I think the Milwaukee Buers have got a chance with Reuniclus under Trick Room. I don't necessarily think full Trick Room is the way to go this week, but certainly a Trick Room Reuniclus could help break down specific mons on Chimp's team. But again, it's a rough matchup for the Milwaukee, and I think if Chimp puts in the prep that he's been putting in consistently the whole way through the season, he's not going to have much trouble. But we still want to see that camera up, so it's kind of spoiling Chimp's victories because he's disrespecting the camera. I'm not gonna lie.
He really is. I better see the camera up this game. I'll be angry if it's not there. So let's move on to something that makes me happy. Gator is playing, and he's playing Aster J and the Montreal Habsels. Now, one thing that I like about this match in particular is that we've got two kind of semi-underachieving coaches. I think it's fair to say Gator hasn't had the most impressive victories. Neither has Aster. So I think the person who wins this game will have a lot more momentum swinging forward. And that's one thing that I do like. I think as far as like this game is concerned, there's two facets I want to analyze. Can Aster play offense, and will he bring Scolipede? Because Scolipede has a fantastic matchup if you just eliminate the Crobat. And what does Aster have on his team that can handle Crobat? Mons like Barbaracle, Mons like Zapdos, Mons like Mudsdale. So I think if you can just pressure this Crobat, get your rocks up, or use it as setup fodder, like Z Barbaracle could be a really good opportunity. And one thing I do like about it is the ability to, like avoid being hit super effectively by Gator's Ice Shard. Gator's Ice Shard. I mean, Mamoswine's Ice Shard, coached by Gator. I mean, it's the same thing, right? Gator, Mamoswine, they're essentially one and the same thing. But I do like Barbaracle and Aster's side. I just don't know if I'm comfortable picking him. Like, I know he had a nice win last week, but I feel like, I don't know. I'm on the fence about this one in particular. Even though like all the analysts are like choosing Gator except for Strum, I think Aster can pull the upset, if you can even call it that, at this game. What do you think?
I mean, interestingly, it could be an upset. I think it's one of the more even matchups of the week. It's Gator who struggled against a lot of bulk last week in the Crest, and then Aster, who usually is very good with bulk but hasn't drafted a bulky team. So that's kind of interesting. I think the Zapdos does have a really good matchup as well. But you mentioned the Crobat. I think there's something like a Super Fang toxic little tech there could help out with Zapdos switching in and wear down a lot of Aster's mons. With the Mono, Brave Bird is pretty good against his team. Something like a Foul Play Magnet Rise Klefki is a very effective counter against Scolipede. So I think that if Gator brings that, it's very good as well. And then if you compare that with the Mamoswine, perhaps Buzzwole, and then a King DDD or a 3 attacks DD, Mega Altaria once the Scolipede's gone down, I can't see Aster taking that game once Mega Altaria is up to +1 with the right moveset. I think that if Klefki is utilized properly, Gator's going to take the game. And the reason I locked it this week is people might be looking at this and be like, well, you just said it's one of the most balanced matchup. Why are you locking this? Sometimes you just got to stunt or die. I kind of like the way my boy the confusion.
Gator is in the Hita squad, so
exactly. So sometimes you got to stunt or die, and I'm going to stunt this week and lock Gator just to see if I can get my overall record up as well.
I hope it works out for you, dude. But moving on to the 7th match of the week, we have the San Jose Sharpedos coached by TomZ versus Monotui and the Tampa Bay Luxrays. Now, one thing about this match in particular, Mono has been on a tear this entire season. Like, if you take out like the week 1 hacks versus Pokegame, we could be looking at a top 2, top 3 team in the entire league. That's how well Mono has been playing. He's very calculated, very safe, very like directed as far as he always seems to like control the board. Oh my god, I've been playing too much Duel Links. He always seems to control the match and dictate the pace based off of making smart switches and playing aggressively and making good plays. I haven't seen that consistently from Tom. I know his playing has been a lot better compared to last season. I'm not too convinced. I really like Weavile against Tom's team. If you like, just look at the threats. There is Roserade, goodbye. Lando T, Rock Polish sets are essentially invalidated against like Ice Shard users. And then he doesn't necessarily have the best switch-ins or best ways to deal with mons like Life Score without Fly Z. But if you're Fly Z, then like you're vulnerable to like other things. I don't know. I think the Lando T is going to be incredibly pressured this game. Scizor basically has to come, and Mono has a Charizard X. I know that like Charizard X can set up on Mega Houndoom unless it's taunt, but even if you taunt it, like I think the Diancie is like the best Zard X answer. But like Earthquake was what you were running anyway. You weren't running like Dragon Claw against like, yeah, you weren't. You just aren't. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think you're right. Mono has been on absolute tear even since last season, completely killing the league last season as well. Aside from playoffs, Mono was doing very, very well as well. I think you can't count Tom out. I have actually picked Tom this week, mainly because a little bit of breaking the fourth wall. I might have done a few mocks and a few tests with Tom this week, so I know exactly what he's
leaks. Leaks.
I'm not leaking. I'm just saying. I know the team. I don't know the result, but I know the team. So I think
I don't know the result.
I do agree with you. I think Zardex and Weavile have to come. If they don't come, I think Mono is basically handing Tom the chance of winning the game. I think Scizor is a very, very good bring and is going to be key in combination with Lando, that little U-turn pair, to see if they can break down Mono's bulk. If Mono doesn't bring a bulky enough team, which I could see happening, because the prep's very, very intricate, and Tom gets the right little techs on his team, I think Tom could take it. And again, it's one of them ones where I've got to stunt just to get those points up to catch up with other people. So I'm going to pick
catch
Tom
up with me, the greatest.
I think we should close this video off with the last match of the week. We have the and then we've got Necros Stevo versus John. Greg, talk about Necros Stevo versus John.
Yeah, I have to go with John on this one. Necro's in a similar boat to Aster. I think I was a lot more impressed with his prior season than this season. And I don't think Necro's been playing too poorly. I think his prep has just been a little off, and he's a little too predictable. And for a guy like John, who's very intuitive about Draft League, I feel like John can prey upon Necro's current state right now. You look at Mons, particularly like Tornadus Therian, that can be a nice reliable pivot into Mons like the Togekiss, into Mons like Delmise, and that can just gain John momentum. And I think it's pretty easy to get momentum against Necro's team, mostly because, like, I don't know, like I mentioned, his team's kind of slow. It relies on like the same few Mons, Mega Alakazam, Tyranitar, Diggersby. What do those all have in common? They lose to fighting coverage. So expect a Mon like Hariyama to be very good. Garchomp can switch in on Tyranitar. I know Crunch hurts, but the Diggersby has to be Scarfed, in my opinion, or for Necro to do things. And I think Scarf Diggersby opens up doors, like for John. I don't know. I'm a fan of John. I'm gonna go with John this week. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think again, it's like the Aster Gator matches. It's a fairly even matchup, but when you get even matchups, extenuating factors take on. I think that Necro is going to be on tilt after not wanting to. Basically, he's desperate for a win, and when you're desperate for a win, you can ask Coach Z. It's very, very difficult. You feel every piece of hacks that's going against you. So I think that could be an issue. I don't think Necro Stevo's draft is as strong as it could be. Which I think is downhill, and John is one of those players that's very, very hard to pick, because one week he'll have an absolute blinder, and the other week he'll bring Curse Houndoom, which is an interesting.
John is consistent, and so is Necro, but Necro's been consistently underwhelming, which is why I'm going to go with John, who's at least been consistently average. Yes,
I think consistently average is a very, very good adjective to describe John's actual league career as a whole, but there's nothing wrong with being consistently average, because at least you're not consistently under average. I think that's a good message for you to close the video. Is that right, Greg?
That's all you, my dude. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this edition of the Pick'em crew. It was nice to have Turbo alongside me, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Simply fantastic. Turbo, any last words?
I mean, thank you for having me. If you guys want to see me back, make sure you put it in the comments below, and we'll see what Tom.
Use the hashtag #OhGosh to let it so I can search for them. Use it.
True.
Use it.
But thanks, guys.
All right, we'll see. Tune in tomorrow for all of the fantastic GBA content. I'm Greggo signing off. Peace.